To begin the recap, we learn that Paul may have a lead on where Zenith is, but one of the problems with him having this lead is that where he has to go, a place called Bagaret, he can't take Norn and Aisha. So with that in mind, he doesn't ask. He just straight up says, hey, your little sister's about to come live with you for a while. But what Rudy doesn't get in that letter is who's taking her, because it's not Paul. But luckily for him, he learns it's going to be Ruja, which means there's about to be a reunion of sorts. And as Sophie learns that her husband's little sisters are coming, it leads to a few conversations that become about her possibly having kids. Which, because she is an elf, apparently elves have trouble conceiving and having kids, so she opens the door to the potential of a concubine, but Rudy shuts that down. He loves her. The fruit that bears from their love is just more feelings for her, so if they don't end up having kids, it seems he's fine with that. Getting to the second recap topic, Nanahoshi, as we've seen, pretty much may come out every now and again from her lab to have food, or if she's invited to some event like Rudy's reception, she'll go. But otherwise, she's making circles to try to get herself back home. And with the latest one leading to a failure, she has a breakdown. She starts off just throwing things and breaking things in her lab, but eventually, once that energy burns out, she's fully zombified. And this kind of has really taken back a bit, because he remembers whether he's talking about his old life or after Eris slept and abandoned him, feeling the way that Nanahoshi did. And with that in mind, he takes it upon himself to try to help her. With Zenova, he gets her to the infirmary. When the infirmary doesn't seem like it's going to do much for her, he takes her home despite Sophie's sort of hesitance on their relationship. And ultimately, what Rudy does is remind Nanahoshi that she has community. So, between Zenova, Annalise, and also Cliff, he gathers them with Nanahoshi in the lab to have debates, to challenge her, and to figure out this whole summoning circle thing, to the point that they actually do have success. They're able to summon a plastic bottle from our world, and just having that amount of progress makes her feel so excited. And of course, it's very curious for Cliff. When it comes to Nova, this is like amazing as well. And overall, it's just showing that because of how good of a place Rudy is in right now, he not only is able to find joy and help himself, but he could also provide it for others, which is very sweet when you think about it. I mean, taking a little bit of a sidetrack, he even checks in with Julie. And as Zenova takes Nanahoshi to his home, he makes sure that she's good and she smiles, she's happy. Zenova's feeding her all the time, and she has definitely come a long way from that enslaved girl who looks so sad and, I wouldn't say desperate, but definitely destitute, to now being this joyous little girl. So, top level highlight for me is going to be that with Sophie mentioning her potential issue with pregnancy, it does lead me to wonder and sort of hope in a way that if that really does become an issue in terms of her conceiving, hopefully the show will dedicate some time and effort to that the same way they did when it comes to Rudy having erectile dysfunction. I don't think that when it comes to a lot of anime, at least the anime I've come across, they've really talked about the different type of disorders and issues that people have, besides showing people with depression or people who are very insecure about their looks. So, getting into the topic of the issues of conceiving, miscarriages, and things like that, it's a heavy subject matter, but considering the way that Jobless Reincarnation has handled heavy subject matters before, even ones that are often made fun of, like erectile dysfunction, I don't wish bad things on Sophie, but if they do take that route, I look forward to see how they handle it in the long run. On a lighter note, I'm also glad the way that Rudy checked in with Julie in terms of, when you think about it, even if Sophie never has a child with Rudy, technically Julie will be his first kid. It's just not going to be with Sophie. And even though Zenobia seems to have primary custody and Rudy at best is just the person who purchased her, at the same time, I feel like there is still some kind of father-daughter relationship there. And even though he doesn't foster it as much as we may like to see, I still think he makes sure that if anything is wrong or something like that, he does look over, check in at the very least. And of course, I can imagine that if anything really did go wrong, he'll be more than happy to have her in his home. Following that up in the series of highlights, I'm so glad we got some type of idea of what's going on with Zenith, and we even for a second got a look at Roxy to know that she's okay as well. But getting back to Zenith, considering that Man God pretty much forced Rudy to stop looking or even really questioning where his mom is, Paul mentioning her, saying that he got a lead, felt like such a blessing. And it even makes me hope that even though we haven't really gotten a lot of these kind of episodes, maybe we can get a Paul-centric one that shows him going on an adventure to find Zenith and either getting reunited with her or showing us why he has been considered such a badass, if not also show why people like Ella and Nice try to keep their distance from him because of his libido. The next highlight is all the setup for the people who are going to be inside of Rudy's house for the next episode. You have his sisters, Norn and Alicia. You have Rudyard, then Sophie, and of course Rudy himself. And the benefit of this is kind of twofold. One, it gives Rudy a reunion with Rudyard, who can potentially fill in all the stuff that has happened since he departed. And at the same time, Sophie can get all those stories that Rudy may or may not have told her at this point. On top of that, with the little sisters there, they can kind of give Rudy, they can help Rudy further this whole storyline about him becoming a better brother, becoming a better person who's part of a family, and continuing this whole reinvention, healing, whichever way you want to put it, that Rudy has been going through. And lastly, I really appreciate what Rudy did for Nanahoshi in terms of he was able to definitely get triggered by his past, but work through it in a way so that he can still help somebody else without it pushing the idea that he's sacrificing himself for somebody else's betterment. And I think that shows a lot of mental and emotional fortitude on his part, and even development, because him finding all the things that he needed for her in order for her to become better really shows the level of growth that I don't easily find myself able to find a comparison to whether we're talking about animation or live action. And it's really those type of interactions that keep me watching Jobless Reincarnation for, while every now and then it has a low point or on the fence topic. It's one of the few shows that I've watched, especially shows with like 18 plus episodes a season, that don't eventually kind of fall off for me and make me pretty much watch and even do reviews like this more so out of loyalty. Plus, I've already come this far, but just truly enjoying what I'm watching. And that's why, overall, while I will admit I'm starting to get that itch to see Rudy do some adventuring and kind of get away from Manoa University a little bit, at the same time, watching him develop emotionally, mentally, show that he's not only somebody who has learned ways to kind of handle his own emotions, but to also help people who are dealing with their own struggles. It really takes this anime to the next level, to the point that it's raising the bar in general for me in a way that's going to make it so difficult to continue to watch other shows. And then when it comes to new shows, I'm probably going to judge them so harshly because I know better exists, so I want to do better in terms of what I spend my time on.